Hello there, everyone, and welcome to Coffee Shop Thursday. Hey, come join me out on my porch and let's have a cup of coffee together, right? Mm-hmm. There's my snowman on that side. There's old Santa on that side. Hey, there's still snow on the ground, so why not? Why not? So what, it's the end of January. But, hey, whenever we sit around a Coffee Shop Thursday, we talk about stuff, whether it's life stuff, Bible stuff, church stuff. Hey, mostly it's Bible stuff, right? And I want to look at an alternate psalm reading. It's one that the Episcopalians use this Sunday. Yeah, we have a Revised Common Lectionary that many people, a lot of different denominations use, but sometimes the Roman Catholic Church just deviates a little bit, and sometimes the Episcopalians deviate a little bit. And they've been deviating, the Episcopalians, with their psalm reading. And sometimes I look at it and I go, why'd they do that? Why didn't they just stick with what we have? Well, there's good reason. And I want to share something with you, though. Now, I talked about the Roman Catholics, us Lutherans, Episcopalians. How about the Presbyterians? Let's get them involved. One of my favorite commentators is Scott Hosey, who works out of Calvin Theological Institute. He wrote this, and I love it. Across the spectrum of poems in the Hebrew Psalter are prayers that fit most every occasion and season in life. Laments, petitions, confessions, praise, thanksgiving, songs that fit happy days, and songs that fit rotten days. Lyric expressions of trust and bitter cries of abandonment and anger. It's all in there. And that's an important thing to remember when we teach the Psalms. Yes, very important thing, because we go in a lot of different directions with these Psalms, and we've seen it time and time again. And what we have going today with Psalm 37, which is what the Episcopalians have chosen to use. I'm going to bring that up here on my screen. I want to read part of that to you, just the opening verses. The verses that are chosen are verses 1 through 11, and then the last two verses of the psalm, which I think are 39 and 40. Do not fret because of the wicked. Do not be envious of wrongdoers, for they will soon fade like the grass and wither like the green herb. Instead, trust in the Lord and do good, so you will live in the land and enjoy security. Take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. And the psalm goes on in that vein. Basically is, hey, those who do evil, they're the bad guys. You know what? They're going to get theirs. You, on the other hand, keep doing good stuff. God's going to bless you. It's kind of a rosy picture of life, right? Do good stuff, man, you're going to be blessed. Now, here's the deal. I think every one of us can look at that and say, time out, time out. We know plenty of people. We know examples of things that have happened in our own lives when we've really been trying to be faithful to what God tells us to do, and we've said our prayers, and we've done all this good stuff for others, and yet life sometimes just falls apart. Maybe we may not have an enemy country coming in to, pilfer us and beat us up like a lot of the people in the Old Testament times did. But bad stuff happens to good people. And bad people sometimes flourish and do quite well in their lifetimes, economically and even physically. So what's that all about? You're saying the bad guys are going to get their due, and if we just remain faithful to God, we're going to get good stuff? God, that's not what we often see. But then again, remember what I read, that opening paragraph? There's plenty of Psalms that have those laments and those complaints in them. Psalm 37 doesn't. Psalm 37 basically comes across with a kind of a rosy picture of life if you follow God's ways. You follow in Him. Commit your way to the Lord. It said, trust in him and he will act. He will make your vindication shine like the light and the justice of your cause like the noonday. And it goes, like I said, it goes on in that vein through the psalm. And so I got to wondering, okay, I kind of get it. Okay, it's telling us not to get too bogged down in the bad stuff that happens, because to be honest, if you look in the other psalms, bad stuff does happen to us. Cancer hits. We have people within our families or in our groups of friends who are involved in tragic accidents, auto accidents or otherwise, workplace accidents. Maybe a house gets repossessed. I mean, there's lots of things that can go wrong. But if you look at this psalm right here as referring to our lives in the long haul, meaning in eternity, that's what it's talking about. Just do good. That's what God made you for, to do good for one another. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. We kind of get that from the Old Testament reading too, from Micah. We're encouraged to do that sort of thing. But also, what I found interesting is, I think Psalm 37 has a closer connection to our gospel lesson today than the Psalm 15 that we'll be doing in church. Yeah. Let me read part of what we have from Matthew, the 5th chapter, verses 1 through 12. And just briefly, this is the Sermon on the Mount, the beginning of the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. In other words, Jesus is talking about those who are on the fringes of society. They've been oppressed, they've been abused in some ways. And you know what? God is going to make things right for them. God's justice will prevail. And he's looking at the long view of history, the long view of our lives. I mean, eternity, right? So, God will be there with you step by step through these difficult moments. Hey, Jesus is saying this stuff. What happened to Jesus' life? We all say Jesus was perfect. He was in perfect communion with God the Father. And look what happened to him. He gets hung on a cross, the worst kind of death that you could suffer back in that day. Humiliating, torturous. And, if Jesus didn't escape that, then is it possible that we won't escape such things too? Could be. Not that we want it, but if we look, though, in the long look down the roadway of life, in the long haul, we see that God will be there to lift us up to new heights and to give us everlasting, eternal life, beautiful life with him. And there's also blessings here that we're going to hear. Blessed are the merciful, those who aren't doing this, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they're called children of God. So yeah, do those good things. Do those good things, because that's what God has called us to do. Now, we'll get into this a little bit more tomorrow with the Matthew text, but take a look at that Psalm 37, the whole thing. The Episcopalians are reading the first 11 verses, then the last two, and they're trying to pull that into what Jesus says in Matthew. In fact, you can almost say, was Jesus, did he have this psalm in the back of his mind as he's giving these Beatitudes? Quite possibly. Seeing the long-range plans that God has for you and for me, that there is justice, there is righteousness in the end, in the midst of all the bad stuff that can and sometimes does happen to you and to me. Okay, well, It's mighty cold out here. We had a little bit of snow yesterday, and there might be a little bit more today, but still not too bad. Just about 3-4 inches. Just enough to make things a little messy out on the roads. But you know what? I still got to the grocery store and got my toilet paper. Yep. That's all I can say. God's blessings be with you. That coffee was good, but now it's iced coffee. Blessings be with you and have a great day.